Yeah, that's an old burrito. Sometimes you gotta double check, you know? You never know. You never know. Well, I've reached a point with the show that I don't think it's gonna take off, and that's fine. Because I do it more for me. It's a place to vent, collect my thoughts, collect the smorgasbord of the world, lay it out to slaughter, for my own amusement and analyzation. But we are picking up traction on the, let's call it the communal cast. That's weird, man. Starting to grow in numbers a little bit, just a little bit, but we're getting there. YouTube channel hit, what was it, 4,000 subscribers over the weekend. So, Mazel Tov, thank you, Shalom, whatever other Yiddish words, because apparently I have to please the overlords. And I myself am mildly fluent in Yiddish. So who knows? Maybe by next week we'll break 5,000. Probably not though. Probably not. Got to be honest. It's probably not. It's not looking good. It's not looking good, folks. Um, we had our pitch, so that went well. Um, got to rewrite the script, but the story's solid and a decent idea. It was original. So hey, take what I can get. Um, but yeah, I was just looking at the podcast numbers today, and it's funny to me because I don't need them to be like huge. That's not why I do it. But it is a little depressing where it's like you see the numbers and you're like, are we not talking about interesting shit? Are we not being funny enough? Which is probably the case. Because I have different personalities, different hats I wear. And it's tough sometimes to combine the two things that we combine with our show. And always be funny when you're ranting about uh, true but complex and very real world conspiracies. But that's not your problem. That's my problem. I shouldn't be putting that on you, the audience. Okay, but at the same time, I'm going to, because if you're here right now with me on this journey, as I hope you are. Otherwise, how the hell else did you get to this part of the video? This podcast is brought to you by Zappos, by the way. Zappos grape. I don't know what they are. Grape. It's basically a grape starburst. Reminds me of that infamous Whitest Kids You Know sketch, which I would say, as far as sketch troops goes, they put out the most content, most quality content. And now I'm going to space on the guy's name, Trevor Moore, I believe. Unless I'm quoting somebody from high school, or naming somebody from high school, which I might be. But I do think his name was Trevor either way. And I have to say, his 9/11 sketch, Trevor Teaching Kids or whatever, or Learning Shit with Trevor, whatever it's called. He's in a classroom. He's teaching kids about 9/11 and what Bush and, the Illuminati's really did. And what I loved about that as a kid, and when I came back to it over the years, or when I catch it on TV, originally I saw it on TV. I think he was on True TV or something like that. And Whitest Kids You Know would have their spiel on there. But what I loved about the genius of that was making a joke with the truth. Which, depending on your comedy philosophy, there's a lot of comedians nowadays who make up stories because it's like, well, we're doing comedy, so you can. And yes, technically, to be funny for a bit, every once in a while, yeah, you have some leeway with that. But generally, people want the truth. They want to know who the real you is. They tell me that all the time because when I first started doing stand-up, I just wanted to do characters. But the booking world and all those people don't like that apparently. Well, screw them, because to me that's way funnier and way more interesting than who I am as a person, you know? Um, but a podcast is different because if you get lied to on a podcast consistently, then that would be a problem, right? Because you're buying into some modicum of truth or honesty, originality, etc. Unless you're watching like Adam Ray's Dr. Phil do a podcast or something. But then you understand because you're in on the joke, you're in on the lie, therefore it cancels out it being a lie, right? All this to say, my comedy philosophy, other than eating things on camera, which I'm definitely stealing from Sam Hyde or somebody, who's also probably one of my favorites and influences and whatnot. Not that I'm anything like the great Sam Hyde. I would never presume to be or hope to be. You can't do that. You have to hope to be the best version of yourself. You're aspire to your future self. We all have our own path in this life. And my path is filled with grape zappos, apparently. I think I had a point, but I forgot it. The point is this: Harlan Williams has taught me some valuable lessons in the comedy game. Not only that eating food on camera is inherently funny, but that you can do it while you're pissing off Joe Rogan, which is inherently funnier. And to destroy David Lucas in the same week, to destroy the fittest man in comedy and the fattest man in comedy currently, rest in peace, Ralphie May. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm pretty sure Tim Dillon is most likely heavier than David Lucas. And that's no shade on Tim, okay? Because Tim is also one of the greats, in my view, one of the living greats. And honestly, Tim is one of the rare comics that's as good as like people were back in like the 80s, in like the Sam Kinison era, Um, I have a lot of respect for Tim. I wish I had the confidence of him, which is funny to say because I've lost a lot of weight. But Tim's one of those rare people that if it does phase him on any level, he's brilliant at not showing it. But there's something respectable and commendable about a personality that acts as if one is not overweight. And it's a cue I think his a straight audience like myself should take a cue from, Because what are women ultimately attracted to? Power, money, good looks, fast, shiny car, being an asshole, like eating on camera. Most people don't know it's actually a form of peacocking. And I think to get back to Harlan Williams, I don't know too much about his personal life, but I'm guessing that might work for him, after my analysis of him on that First Date show, That's that show with the two girls and then Laura Compton, and then she has a guest. Um, Great show. Great show. I couldn't tell you anything about it because I'm constantly staring at Lauren Compton's breasts when I'm watching it. But aside from that, I think it's a good show, or an alright show. You know what it is? It's like being on a date, and you're the weird third wheel watching the interactions, But you do learn from the male guests what works and what doesn't, on Lauren. So that's always good to know, to take notes, so that my plans for her as my future wife can to come to fruition, which I do think is the whole business plan over at your mom's house. With Tom and Bert, who, at one time I really fought the itch to hate those guys. And I don't hate them now. I actually kind of feel sorry for them because I feel like they're not getting it. And rather than acknowledging, oh, we've made mistakes or we're wrong or we've got our issues, they just keep digging in. They keep digging in. I kind of respect that to a degree, but it's like doubling down on being retarded, you know? At some point, you gotta wake up and go, what the hell are we doing here? You know? Case in point, who was the last guest they had on their show, who is only second to Stephen Colbert in terms of shittiness as a comic, because of the whole dancing for Pfizer shit, but he's really a close second. And that's Jimmy Kimmel, was on Your Mom's House show, which I couldn't even watch for more than 5 seconds because the damn title of the thing and the comments section of the thing, not that I normally jump to that first. I have my own mind. I don't give a shit really the comment section of things, but it's fun to see it, hop into a comment section. It's like dipping your toes in the pool every once in a while, because sometimes it actually is insightful, or you do agree with it, or yada yada yada, what have you, and whatnot, and a few other additionals. But the fact that the name of the title of the video, which I'm sure they found to be funny or comedic or whatever the fuck they were going for, it was something to the effect of, is Jimmy Kimmel in the Illuminati with Jimmy Kimmel as guest? To which I commented almost as quickly as I could type, after screen recording the hilarious comments, one after another, after another, after another, after another, which I should pretty much pull up at this point. But I just had to wrote's past tense, write's current tense, but I did write it. See, that doesn't make sense. The English language, it's confusing. Let me pull this up, because this was, hold on, bear with me. Don't go anywhere. Don't change the channel. I know you're thinking about it. You're contemplating it. Don't. This is important, okay? We might not be Mike David Redbar or whatever the fuck over here, but we're still fun, okay? There's a guy I have a lot of respect for, too, by the way. You can't like him. If you do comedy, you can't like it. I don't care if he likes me or doesn't like me. He's probably never heard of me and will never give a shit about me. And if he does, he'll hate me. Good. But I like him. I think he's talented. I think he's funny. And I think what he's doing is, what's the word I'm looking for? Commendable. Because he's holding comedy to a higher standard, which should make comics respect him and like him. And secretly they do. Even the ones that hate him. Because they know he's right. Not always. He's not always right, Mike. I would say you're around 70 to 80%, but that's pretty good. And then sometimes I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Maybe 5% of those times I change my mind later on. But I gave it a year. I gave it 2 years. I didn't like you when I first heard you. I thought you were a lefty wingnut. You're still a little lefty for my taste. And don't go, oh, well, then you must be on the right. No. I'm independent. I hate red. It's red, red versus blue. It's not red versus blue. It's the state versus you, and all that, and all those colloquialisms. Okay, I'm independent. It's called independent. Okay, like you, which is why I think we'd get along in real life. Other than your obsession with being cool. See, that's not my bag. I didn't grow up cool. I don't want to be cool. Maybe a little bit cool, but not very cool. You're a little too cool for me. That's the only thing I don't like about Mike Redbar. But other than that, I think he's a class act. Sorry, I type slow like my grandparents. Give me a second. Loading. My internet's slow. I'm getting bombarded by family text messages as I record. This is what happens. So, is Jimmy Kimmel
only in the sink, and it's
in the Illuminati? Was the name of it. Top comment here for the negative comments. I wrote, who's next? Stephen Colbert, enjoy dancing for Big Pharma. And yes, Kimmel's by far the gayest member of the Illuminati. One like. Hey, I'll take it. Just came to see how many people hate Jimmy Kimmel. It's a lot. 269 likes, 8 replies. Adam Toyota once said, of course, referring to the great Adam Carolla for, the retarded and deaf at home. Adam Toyota once said, it's better to piss in the sink than sink in the piss. 169 likes. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when the YMH crew click on the comments this morning. 177 likes, 4 replies. Ignore the positive comments. That's just funny right there. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there. 190 likes, 2 replies. Remember when Tom used to go on a morning shows and make them uncomfortable by being a comedian because they censored their programs to run ads, and now he censors his program so he can run ads? 210 likes, 5 replies. This episode is brought to you by all the worst products of all time, including Dostoevsky or Dosporos or whatever. Whatever. They're both depressing and will make you want to kill yourself. So, but hey, it is vodka. So. This episode, oh, I already read that. Guys, please stop hating on Jimmy Kimmel. A couple lines down without 222 likes, 1 reply. Bert wants to host the Oscars in a rip-away tuxedo and leather jockstrap. 56 likes, 2 replies. Bro, this comment section is unhinged. LMFAO, 133 likes, 7 replies. Did he ever apologize for slandering your friend who literally jump-started both of your careers? 16 likes. You can just feel how uncomfortable that fake laugh makes everyone feel. So gross. 67 likes. 4 replies. Just when I thought Bert was the problem with this show. 392 likes. 6 replies. Yeah, it's not just Bert, folks. And here's the thing. There was a time and place that I liked Tom Segura. You go back and watch the young Tom Segura, especially on that show that Ari Shaffir put out with the comedians. This Is Not Happening. One of the best stand-up shows to have ever been put out, in my opinion. It was always well booked. The comedians were well booked, well cast, however you want to say it. I mean, it's kind of a bit of both in that scenario because it's not only stand-up comedy, but it's a TV show of stand-up comedy or an internet show of. That's the problem. There's too many things. There's no genres anymore. There's no formats. There's no mediums. It's just everything. You can't just have a podcast that you record for an hour and a half. You got to have your TikTok channel, your BoobTube channel, your fucking your clips everywhere. Upload. It's like a full fucking. You got to be a full corporation because you're competing against full corporations who are backing most of the successful podcasts because they got to connect over at YouTube. Unlike myself, okay. And that's the problem, and that's the point. And I'm gonna start pointing with this thing. I don't care if I've dropped the pen and picked it up a million times. I'm going to do it again. If that pisses you off. We're going to do it again. Stealing from Sam Hyde once again. There we go. And Izzy and Griffin, who stole it from Sam Hyde as well. But that's okay. That's okay. Apparently you can steal in comedy. You know why? Because Tom Segura did it. He stole jokes. I forget where he stole it from before I make an accusation like that. But what's the big deal, right? It's all just fun and games, right, Tom? But yeah, he stole that from somebody, Bill Burr, somebody, in his latest special, or his last special on Netflix, unless there's another one that's come out that I don't know about, which is probably the case because I don't even have a Netflix subscription anymore. Because I pirate my movies like a modern fucking person, okay? Like a proper modern person. I pirate my films, okay? Now, if I make a film or a TV show, I expect you to pay for it, okay? But I don't pay for other people's films because it's not in the budget, okay? See, I respect the artist, I respect the art form, but not enough to not pirate films, okay? You see how that works? I'm not being a hypocrite. It's called honesty, okay? Because you're doing it too. Let's be honest. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo. Rest in peace, Wheezy. That was a quote from Kimmel. We think this guy is abhorrent. Bert calling someone else selfish should be a criminal act, and he should probably be arrested. I agree with that. The lack of self-awareness is what your audience is criticizing, guys. And I say this with love, even though I say, I hate you guys. I kind of do because of what you've become and turned into. But I don't hate you for who you... Actually, I do hate you for who you are as well. But I don't hate the guys you used to be as much. Is that fair? Is that an olive branch that I can extend out to you? I think so. I'll be honest. The first time I saw The Machine Story, brilliant. Funny, original, who's this crazy guy? Not a whole big fan of the whole shirtless shit. Maybe it's because I grew up a fat kid. I'm kind of body... not phobic, but averse, Especially with dudes, it's just like, it's always like, oh, machismo, look at me, I'm Mr., check me out. It's like, okay, we get it, you're trying to get laid or whatever the fuck, but it's not funny, it's redundant. And when you tell the Machine Story a million times, you reach a point where you're just like, what the fuck are we doing here, And then, yeah, getting back to Tom for a second, he stole jokes, and he's become a pompous ass, And I say this with love, because if I gave a shit too much about what you think, I wouldn't be honest with you. So I'm saying this with love. Tom, you've become a pompous ass, and you need to get your shit together. Uh, Same with Bert. You guys are acting like you've made it, but you haven't. Is the problem? Yes, you're on TV and you're doing things, but what's your legacy going to be? Huh? Ozempic and alcohol? That's that's what people see. You know what I mean? Because I might utterly fail at what I'm trying to do, but I do multiple things. So, maybe that's not good or it's spreading your chips too thin, but it's like I see where I have success. I see what I need to work on more. And even the successful things, I constantly get better at and better at. And I teach myself things I don't know, and I practice. I get up on stage more. I do all my shit. I write sketch comedy, where we've got really, really funny sketches in the works that are coming out. It's going to be a whole show. We're pitching this pilot, this TV pilot. It's a surreal comedy pilot. We're making moves. And you guys have all the money in the world now, and you're not making moves. It's confusing. It's confusing for comedy fans because they're like, why did we give you this all this money if you're not going to do anything with it? Same with Kill Tony, which I have my criticisms of Kill Tony and Tony Hinchcliffe, but overall, I'll say this. I used to go to the Comedy Store on the weekends a lot before I had more of a life. And, I mean, I love the Comedy Store, don't get me wrong. But, well, love's a strong word. How much can you love a venue or a place? It's the people that make the place. So, but Tony gave me a compliment, which I really appreciated. And it's not because I was performing there, even though I could lie right now and say that. But he gave me a compliment because I got called on and I had a good question. And that made me feel good about myself. So for whatever that's worth, I should say thank you to Tony Hinchcliffe on that point. Tony's got his own demons, as we all do. I'm not perfect either. Okay, newsflash. I'm not throwing stones into brick houses, okay? And if I did, it would just bounce back and hit me in the head. So what I'm saying is, yeah, he would do Kill Tony or whatever, and I've seen that show grow so exponentially. It's been very interesting. Not that I tune in every week. There's definitely been times where I have, and it's gone through its peaks and highs and lows, and it's gone through its iterations. But I have to say I was impressed, even though most of the arena shows in the beginning I really hated. The LA Forum show, which I think was their last LA show, big LA show, was pretty damn good. And it's because it was well booked, and it was a mix of, it was just the right things one needed to craft a good live show. And it was good watchable on screen as well. But I've also watched many a show that I thought was horrible, or Tony totally shat the bed or whatever. And I'm not trying to make it seem like he's talentless, because there's a lot of people that will say that about him. I don't think that's the case. I think it's kind of what happens when, for whatever reason, I think the guy stuck to a formula for a long time, and he's finally kind of catching on to, I got to shake things up, okay? And I guess that's kind of my advice to Tom and Bert as well, in a different way, is you got to shake things up. You have to grow. You can't stay stagnant, collect the money, and just hoard it like a greedy miser. It's like pour it into sketches and make them actually good. You made 69 minutes, but it was unwatchable, okay? Now, I would have helped you with this, or somebody else would have, who's capable of writing as good as me, which is very few people, let's be honest, okay? Most people are lazy, writing's homework to them, they don't want to think about it, they don't want to do it. I'm somebody who can. You don't believe me? I'm getting a show made, okay? I know I'm kind of like not a household name, and I haven't been on so-and-so's podcast, I haven't been on Joe Rogan yet, so who gives a shit about this guy? But guess what? I can make you laugh, I can make you think, I can make you cry, okay? Because I am what's called a method actor, as well as a kick-ass storyteller, and the combination, sprinkle in the comedy, 2 years of stand-up, which ain't a lot, but it's not bad, okay? My first show was at House of Blues. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. It was the one in Anaheim, Disney. Hey. What am I trying to say? What's the point of this, okay? Point is, I'm trying to help the dumbasses find their asses again, because they seem to have lost them. I don't understand this. Especially when you got money rolling in, it's like that's when you double down on a movie. That's when you double down on a sketch show that actually is full of laughter, and you don't just phone it in, and you don't have Bert I think that was the story with 69 Minutes, is Bert never even showed up on the damn thing. What are we doing? What are we doing here? I don't know. But it's upsetting. It's upsetting me. It's upsetting me. And I would say the same with Kill Tony, except he's starting to get better in certain ways. I still hate Tony's fucking questions and the guest interview part. And if you don't well me on that, then you don't get a golden ticket and all that shit. Like what? Like what? I mean, I guess if you're training for the Tonight Show, but old Hollywood has crumbled, remember? That's why everybody was so confused by your, oh, but we love Netflix here. Why? Why do we love Netflix? Like, I wouldn't be averse to working with Netflix in particular, but they definitely wouldn't be my first choice. It's like, do you want to sell DVDs at Walmart? Or do you want to sell them on Prime Video? That's not a great metaphor or analogy or allegory, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is this: people want to invest in something that's worth their time, and then when they invested in it, especially with dollars to donuts and all that shit, they want you to have given them back something for their fucking hard money. You know what I mean? And I think that's my frustration, And there's the frustration of comedy's dying and is dead in many respects. It's not that you can't be funny nowadays, but making money off of being funny is becoming more and more complex, which is why, in some ways, we're putting all of our eggs, or most of our eggs, into the film and TV basket because we have to generate revenue. We can't just be doing the free podcast till the end of time, as fun as that could be. And also, I realize with the podcast stuff, I tend to rant, and maybe it's funny to some people, but to me, it just feels mean or like serious or whatever the fuck. And that's a different person who I am when I'm on stage doing comedy and stuff. In fact, I can't help but imagine that's probably what a lot of comedians go through. It's like, no, my funny stuff's on stage, and then I try to be funny and entertaining on the podcast, but you end up being just you. And most people's you, even if you're a hilarious onstage comedian, is just kind of like, all right. And sometimes it's more interesting and all right. And sometimes it absolutely sucks, as we've seen with Tom and Bert, as we've seen with a lot of things. Hopefully not with our show. None of these things apply, but I can't afford to think that way. You have to think positive. It's called manifesting. I don't know if you've been to Coachella recently. It's called manifesting, okay? And if you didn't hear about it at Coachella, maybe, your black friend told you, okay? Because that's another kind of person where you'll learn the concept of manifesting. I knew what manifesting was before Khalil told me. I just want to get that out on the record, okay? But it is funny how much it'll be recommended. Like, hey, yo, dog, have you tried manifesting? What do you call writing a screenplay from my asshole? That's called manifesting, okay? If that's not manifesting, I don't know what manifesting could possibly fucking be. Then there's the whole parallel universes, and every time you step through a threshold and you make a magic wish and cross your fingers, you enter that dimension. I don't believe in that shit. Do I believe in magic? Absolutely. What I don't believe is crossing my fingers and closing my eyes and making a wish, walking through a fucking doorway, all of a sudden I'm in a different magical fucking realm. That's not how it works, okay? That's only how it works when you enter the pyramids, okay? But you have to do a whole ritual and everything, and anyway, it's pretty demonic. I'd have Aleister Crowley explain it to you, but he's dead in hell. And if you don't know who that is, why are you watching my show? You know what I mean? Not that I only want Satanists watching my show. That's not the point of that at all, that comment at all. I'm just saying, where the fuck have you been? Read a book. The guy invented sex, drugs, rock and roll, and, killed whatever, 1,000 or 5,000 kids or something throughout his life. Started Thelema. It's just its own podcast. We've covered him before. We've covered a lot of things like this before. Many other people have covered this kind of stuff, other than myself. So I don't really feel the need to get into it. Okay? Google it. Read. Do homework. Research. Understand. Look up him, Madame Blavatsky, while you're at it. Look up Thelema. Look up the weird gray alien demon that Crowley channeled, and his connections with L. Ron Hubbard and of Scientology, Jack Parsons of JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. All the CIA MK Ultra connections to all those people I just mentioned. It's terrifying stuff, but it would make for an interesting film. Or you could just watch the Paramount show Strange Angel, which at least gives you the Jack Parsons JPL story. Or you could just listen to the analysis of Jay Dyer's analysis, who does the heavy lifting for you, in case you're a bitch boy who doesn't want to read and research. Okay, which is fine. That's fine. Forgot what my point was. My point is this: Harlan Williams is not what I would call the best comedian ever, but he is really freaking funny and hilarious, and is a fresh breath of hot air. No, a fresh air balloon. Something. He's old, but he's new. You know, that's what I respect about Harlan, is that I don't know what he's been doing. I know he did the movie Half Baked and more than a couple other things. I know he wrote a TV show for kids about dogs, which I can't remember, Harry Potter's Puppet Pals or something. Which I like that, giving back to the kids, and all that. That's cool. That's commendable, respectable. Looks good for the press. I see it. I see it, Harlan. No, I'm just kidding. No, I have a lot of respect for Harlan, actually. I have respect for him because he killed Tony, he killed David Lucas, he killed Joe Rogan, okay? And that was some balls with the celery shit, I gotta be honest. That was awesome. That was awesome. Because there's nothing worse than watching Joe not get another fucking joke. It's like, are we in the same world? Are we in the same universe? Are we in the same business? Are we in the same... Do you get what comedy is, Joseph? Once again, all due respect, because I'm probably going to be on his podcast one day, unfortunately. I meant fortunately, okay? Sometimes they're jokes, sometimes they're not. I'm also in a cranky mood, so don't take all of this literally and seriously into heart in case I have to work with you someday and look you in the eye and be forced to apologize, because I'm not going to do that, okay? I'm not going to do that. You're going to want to come on my podcast. How about that? Okay? Or maybe not, because I didn't start a podcast to have guests on. Okay? But apparently that's what you have to do to get people to watch your shit. So I'm not going to do that. Okay? We're going to make some shit. We're going to make some TV shows, sketch comedy. Maybe we'll have on a couple guests. Okay? But I'm kind of leaning. Maybe it's because I've listened to too much Red Bar at this point, but I kind of get it. Like, what he's like, yeah, I don't like guests. I'm like, I get it. I don't like guests either. And in the it's kind of like Tim Dillon. He's had some decent guest episodes, but most of the guest episodes you hate because you go there for Tim Dillon. You don't go over there for the guests. People go to Joe Rogan not for Joe Rogan. They watch him for the guests. So it depends on what your show is and what it's trying to be and what it hopes to be and all these things. That's what I'm trying to say. Is this making sense, or am I just talking to myself? I mean, I am talking to myself. I know that. I'm not schizophrenic, okay? Well, I mean, depends who you talk to. My ex-wife... But she wasn't all there herself. I'm just kidding. I've never been married. Never touched a woman. No, I'm just kidding. I have just not it. Consensually. Also a joke. You can't joke about that, or you get me too. Even though that was all just a giant psyop cover up to cover up Pizzagate. But what do I know, right? What do I know? I'm just a dumb comic entertainer, and what the fuck do I know? Know a lot. That's the trick. That's the secret to that. That's the answer to that. Riddle me this. Why does the Sandy Hook shooter look just like the David Hogg Sandy Hook survivor gun advocate guy who CNN blasted for out of nowhere? So I'm not a moron, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, and the sheriff guy in Honolulu or wherever, Lahaina, is the same guy from the Vegas shooting, but we don't, once again, a podcast in of itself. Go down those rabbit holes yourself. You're welcome. And I'm sorry for telling you, because it probably, if you didn't know that already, those two pieces of information might really fuck with your worldview. As well they should. As well they should. Because maybe it's good to wake up from the coma that America's been in collectively for 1,000 years, rather than continuing lying to ourselves and our neighbors and calling our family members crazy conspiracy theorists, even though they've been right about absolutely everything, including that everything from Pearl Harbor to 9/11 to uh, the great vampire zombie virus outbreak. It's planned. It's planned. I don't care if it's a school getting shot up. I don't care if it's the Vegas shooting getting shot up, burning people in Hawaii. You got to wake up, folks. It's a dark, cruel world run by sorcerers. Okay, I hate to break it to you. And those sorcerers worship demons because witches are in league with Satan. It's pretty biblical. It's pretty eternal. It's what all the folklore, all the mythologies, all the supernatural stories, all the religions of the earth, and all the real history that hasn't been covered up and burned and deleted will actually tell you if you just use your noggin and use your brain cells, rub them together, start a fire, ignite the light within you, the fire within you with questions, and before you know it, you'll realize we live in what's called a simulation, and that simulation is called the Matrix, okay? We had it in Babylon, we had it in ancient Rome, we have it today as the New World Order. I don't know what more to tell you. What do you want to do about it? I don't know. But letting everybody realize that that's real and not just some crazy conspiracy, like that's the start, is like waking up the people. Are you awake yet? Are you paying attention yet? Are you listening yet? Good. Now go do something about it. Find God, pray to God, ask him what he wants you to do, and go from there. So anyway, I'm very thankful for the opportunities and the experiences that I'm going through currently, um, and the visions. They're helpful with everything. But it's true. It's true. It's true. It's a crazy world, but it's true. The things I'm saying. That's the funny thing about me, is that I don't, at least not intentionally or consciously, I don't lie. I'm sharing the truth. I'm trying to find the funny angle if and where I can. And maybe it's not funny at all, and that's okay too, because some days I'm not funny at all, and that's just how it is. So take it or leave it. If you want, if you want the best of me, you got to take the worst of me, honey. That it's that old shit you tell your girlfriend if you have one. I mean, I'm seeing somebody, but we're not a fish. We're not official, right? So it's one of those situations. But I don't want to get into that. I don't get into my personal life. I don't like to talk about stuff like that. Yeah, I don't talk about that. My favorite cutaways from Big Short, or direct into cameras, whatever you call that, breaking the fourth wall. See, I'm a professional. Okay, I'm a professional with professional abilities, and one day the industry will recognize that again. Um, Hey, listen, I don't want to brag or nothing, but I auditioned for Burt Wonderstone, okay? The incredible Burt Wonderstone. I auditioned for Super 8 with J.J. Abrams, and I could see the horror in his eyes as I failed my audition because I was so nervous. But you know what? I don't give a shit, J.J., and your fucking magic box with the question mark on it. So what? It was a good TED Talk. Nobody gives a shit, okay? What are you doing now, huh? Exactly. Working on alien movies with Ridley Scott. I don't even know what the fuck he's got up to. But Super 8 was a half decent film, even though it was just a rehash of E.T. So, for a reboot, Hollywood remake bullshit, not half bad, I gotta say. I rather enjoyed it. Weren't expecting a compliment out of the end of that. I could feel, I could tell, I could sense that with my telepathic powers. But we're not here today to get into my psychic shit. That's not what we're here to do, okay? What we're here to do is have a good time, okay? And I hope you've had a good time. I hope you learned something. I hope these last 40 minutes have flown by for you as much as they've flown by for me. And hopefully you're left coming away with both questions, more questions than answers, which is what this show provides. Other shows provide you with information and whatnot. We like to shove questions down your throat so that by the time you leave, you feel like you might have to quit your job and start a whole new career. That's the kind of show this is. So I hope that's what you signed up for, because that's what you got. That's what you paid for. That's what you get, even though you haven't paid me shit. So go ahead and pay me, okay? Hit that subscribe button, rockfin.com/thatsweirdman, okay? You get our show, Khalil and I, talking about comedy, conspiracies, wild shit that's happening in our lives, or has happened, or will happen in our lives. I said lies when I meant lives. That's not a conscious Freudian slip. That was what's called in. I fucked up. That's what that's called. Okay. I think I'm missing something here. Let's see. There was one more thing. There's always time for one more thing, and I forgot what it was, but it was good. It was good. You would have liked it. Trust me, you'd be laughing right now if I could just have a functioning brain. But the point is this, guys. If you want a good show, build it and they will come. Okay? Literally, figuratively, sexually, all of the above. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say, is that you gotta, it's like Field of Dreams. Build it and you will come. Or they will come. Maybe you'll come too. Who knows? Maybe everybody will come. I don't know. I mean, I didn't get an invite, so I'm probably not going to come. But, everybody else gets to come, because that's just how it is. I just need to get laid. I get what you're trying to say, but I'm also kidding. Okay, that's not the issue here. That's not the issue here. The issue is this. Okay, the issue is this. Tom is not getting laid, and that much we are certain about. Okay, because I agree with Red Bar's analysis. I think he's going the way of the jaguar or the leopard. Or maybe I'm thinking of leopard print, and just how that's associated with like old ladies in their 50s who still smoke cigarettes and the gays. Okay, but I think that's the vibe he's heading towards. Just being what is it? Not a failure. That's not the right word. Mid. He's dangerously mid, as is Bert. And they're kind of a few steps below mid even. And that's even worse than being mid. I'd rather be mid than a few steps below mid. Everybody knows that. But that's kind of the direction they're going in, And it's just been going in. I haven't tuned into them forever. All of a sudden this video popped up. The word Illuminati caught my attention. I see Illuminati and Kimmel, and I'm glued to a screen for 45 whole seconds. Just enough to know that this was a marketing tactic, a cheap marketing tactic that I'm sure they thought was so clever. Oh, it's so clever of us. Oh, well, Bert and Tallman was so clever. You're not, though. We've seen your show. We've seen your shit. If you have more to offer, now is the time. Turn the page. Add to the network. Not by adding some, hot blonde with fat tits. That's not what we mean. I mean, I appreciate Lauren. Don't get rid of Lauren. That's not my point with this rant. My point is, you got to yourselves have to be adding to the network. You can't just go, oh, and then this one time, and we were at a party and I took my shirt off. Oh, really? That's crazy. That's wow. And hey, here's some viral videos that you saw last week too. You know what I mean? You know why people keep going back to Mike Redbar? Because he brings the goods. Most of the time, he brings the goods. And you're entertained by him, and you can't even sometimes always tell exactly in every moment what exactly he's saying or thinking or meaning by what he's doing. Is it a joke? Is it not? And I respect that because I kind of live there myself. I've been told I sound sarcastic even when I'm not being sarcastic, when I'm being sincere. I take that as a compliment, okay? Because that means that my ninjutsu skills are so good, I don't even know what the fuck's real anymore. And that's the point of show business, folks. Okay? Full psychosis, and then you knock them out of the park. And of course I'm kidding. I know the difference between reality and the monsters under my bed. Okay, I do. Except the monsters are real and they're called demons. Okay, but don't worry. I found Christ. I found Jesus. We got him out of there. All right? Speaking of which, the new William Dafoe Nosferatu film looks fascinatingly interesting. Watch that trailer. The film's not out yet, but the trailer looks good. the trailer is any indication of a good film, which it rarely is, but in this case, good trailer plus A24 means 50-50 chance it might be okay. And I'll take those odds. And I'm not usually a vampire guy, but lately I've been on a vampire kick. That was a while ago, actually, but still. Van Helsing, uh, the Dracula movie with the guy from, Gary Oldman. That's a great one. And then the sequel, Dracula 2000, is pretty damn good. Um, there might be a couple more, but those three movies, especially Van Helsing, I think is one of the best choice. It's choice. It's choice. Okay? Unlike the steaks being vaccinated by Bill Gates, they are not choice. They are not USDA organic certified. Well, maybe they're certified, but they're certainly not as hell, sure as hell, not organic. Okay? Anyway, 45 minutes. I think that's a good enough for rants. What about you? What do you think? I have an assistant off camera that I look to. He lets me know. He's my Jamie. He's my Ben Avery. Is good. Lemon Party, another great show. Well, we must have been talking about bad shows, but Lemon Party is an excellent comedy podcast. And those guys are dialed in. They're funny. Devin Costa's funny. Ben Avery's funny. Ben's brother, I don't know why, for the love of fuck, I'm spacing on Ben's brother's name right now. Do not take this personally, Ben's brother, if you happen to ever see this for some weird reason. Jace Avery. Holy shit, that took way too long. I'm turning into Bill. Oh, I'm turning into Joe Biden. I really pulled a Joe Biden by calling him Bill. Bill Clinton, which is probably, he hasn't seen the limelight in a minute, but I'm guessing he's looking similarly bad as Joe Biden right about now. So, meant to do a Joe Biden impression, and I did it too well. That's what happens. See, I have method actor, go full method, and then you'll become. It's like Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller, and or Robert Downey, blackface in Tropic Thunder, doing. Everybody knows you never go full retard. Sean Penn, I Am Sam, 2001, right after 9/11. Maybe that had something to do with it, because we had George Bush in office. We already had a retard, crashing planes with buildings with planes, except there was no planes and it was all manufactured by thermite bombs or whatever the kind of bombs or explosive material, explosive ammunitions. But what do I know? What do I know? That's just, the whole League of Extraordinary Engineers agreeing on that. Over 2,000 engineers have signed documents attesting to that. But you can look into that for yourself. That's for me to know and you to speculate on and scoff at until you realize 5 years later that I was telling the truth, except you'll never have that aha moment because you're the brainwashed masses, sheeple. But hopefully not, because if you tune into my show, you're an awakened soul or an awakening soul at the very least. And if you are still asleep and you're listening to my show, wake the fuck up. What are you doing? I mean, what more needs to happen for you to put two and two together? I'm saying this to all my friends who are still vastly asleep at the wheel. But you know what I mean? They can't all be geniuses like me, okay? So I get it. You get a grace period. You get some time. But now is the time to wake the fuck up and do something about it. You know what I'm saying? No. Don't do that, because then they'll come for you. Don't do that. Now, what you got to do is wake up, go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, okay, and drop some truth bombs. Truth bombs. To awaken them heart and soul. Right in here. That's where the soul's at, okay? And the mind's somewhere in the dick or the balls, I forget. And on a woman, it's... No, I'm just kidding. They don't have brains. But if they did, it would be probably in the boobs, I'm guessing. No, what I'm trying to say is this. Don't commit acts of terrorism. Commit acts of terrorism in people's hearts and minds, because that's much more significant and much more long-lasting. You see, bombs dissipate, and then there's arrests, and then there's all these things. My whole point is through comedy, through truth, through humor, you can get your point across without killing people. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the point of entertainment, is making them laugh, making them think, and making them cry. But not from physical weapons, okay? Not from physical abuse, because emotional abuse is much more longer lasting and much more effective for our purposes, okay? It's called psychological warfare, modern warfare, fifth generational warfare, etc., and so on. Look up, what's his face? From the KGB, Yuri Bezmenov. There we go. See, it's still ticking. Yuri Bezmenov, KGB defector, worked for Reagan, talked about the whole concept of subversion and psychological warfare and how that's the new warfare and the only warfare for the foreseeable future. So brush up on that and use that to mind fuck the mind fuckers is what I'm saying. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And also Biden's not at the White House, so it'd be kind of pointless to do that, because he's in a fake White House in like Pennsylvania or some shit. I forget where it is. But once again, I'll let you look that up on your own time. That's for me to know and you to find out. You've been listening to the program. I've been the host. You're welcome.